Welcome back to another weekly Forexcast. All right, so I'm going to get right to it. We had a lot of volume come in these last couple of weeks, especially into the dollar. All right, the dollar index has been pumping crazy, real bullish right now. If you look here on the monthly, all right, we have a strong bullish impulsive candle forming. All right, the monthly candle closes in 2 days, so that's showing, from my bias, the bulls are still in control of the dollar. All right. And that's why we saw so much weakness come in on the pairs, the majors that's traded against the dollar going in line with that strength. All right. So all across the board, we see here on the weekly, prices now, all right, when it gets around here, it's pushing towards this level of structure. All right, this lower high structure where it had bearish pressure. So that's going to be an interesting level that I would pay attention to. Either price can, push up into here, maybe reject. That could be a possible, maybe reject before giving any more continued bullish bias to the upside. All right, or it can continue to just break through that level and then maybe pull back and just continue from there up to this major level of supply, anywhere between 100 to really 102 or so. All right, that's still possible to get hit based off of what we're seeing on the monthly. All right. But after this strong monthly close, we could very well see some type of correction happen after that. So all we're going to do is just react to what we see on the charts and just trade in line with that. But all across the board, it still looks like dollar strength is coming. All right. Even when we look at some of the pairs that's traded against it. All right. So let's get to it. First, I'm going to look at GBPNZD. All right. So looking at GN here on the weekly, you can see GN had a top at this level of supply, right? Had a breakdown here, impulsive breakdown, pulled back, form a slight lower high, and gave an extension, another bearish wave to the downside here. So now after that, we're getting a corrective wave, a big correction up. All right, so now if I'm looking at this on the daily, all right, I understand the potential of price potentially selling off from here, all right, because we have a lower high here, and this was our lower low. So on the daily, we're in the downtrend. Okay. I can even take a trend line from this peak high of this wick to that lower high there and extend it out. So we're at this interesting point that I will start looking for another potential wave to the downside. All right. I can even look at this level of supply here. Right. This is actually within this range. This is where I would look for price to potentially, show some bearish pressure, some bearish confirmation from this level of supply, this minor level of supply of structure, and then look to take that continuation to the downside. All right. So this is what I'm looking for. If price can hold here with some type of strong bearish rejection, maybe give some type of impulsive rejective wave here, you can continue to look to sell the pullback opportunities. But overall, I'm looking for that wave to the downside. Okay, so this, looking at the daily, this really can come back down to these levels. All right, looking to the left, this could be a level of support you could look for too, around 1.92. That could be a nice target around this structure support. All right, but price still could go past that and just really come down and really give us a lower low. That can happen as well. All right, but overall this week, I like bears. I like sales on GBPNZD. All right, looking at GJ, all the JPY pairs overall, JPY strength came in heavy. So this was another pair similar to the dollar. A lot of volume came into JPY, safe haven. All right, so if we look at this on the weekly though, all right, we could just look at recent price action. Price had a strong breakdown of structure here with this bearish engulfing on the weekly. So that's showing that the sellers are still in control. All right. So I go to the smaller time frame. I'm still expecting more sales here, but it's likely going to pull back some first before giving us continued way down. So I go down to, like, let's say the daily. All right. You can see we got a strong impulsive breakdown right here. All right. Also breaking below structure here. All right. So that's showing us that it's likely that we're going to continue down. But now I just want to get that correction or retest and then look for my wave down. So I can also look at structure here, around here. All right, look at that. That's the structure level I would pay attention to because this was previous resistance. All right, turn support here. So price broke that. So now I would look for a pullback or retest into these levels, all right, before giving that potential continuation down. Okay, you can also take your fib. All right, so somewhere, some type of pullback like this, all right, for the corrective wave to give us that continuation to the downside. All right, pushing us at least back down to that low, but I would like to see it push towards 150, possibly lower, right, into these major demand levels between 149.5 and 149.2-ish area. All right. All right, so it's likely we're going to see a lot of the JPY pairs correct and then give us that potential continuation down. So really, if we're looking at it based off the 4-hour, you're just looking for a lower high to be created, right? You see these lower highs on his way down, lower high here, lower highs, right? So we're looking for another lower high to be created on this pullback to give us that continuation to the downside. All right, so looking at GU, if we look at GU on a monthly, same thing, just going in line with the dollar strength. All right, so you had a lot of bullish pressure coming to the dollar. All right, GU is pushing, the pound is pushing down against that. All right, so we can see this monthly candle closed in about 2 days. All right, so it's looking like it's setting up for a bearish engulfing. If that happens, then I believe that's a sign. It's a likely sign that long term we're going to see this have a bigger move to the downside. All right, but on the smaller time frames, we could get some pullback first. So if you look at this on a weekly and look to the left, this is a major level of supply right here. All right, so price breaking back below this, that's a good sign for a potential bigger wave to the downside with a break back below that supply level. All right, because it became support here at first, but now we finally broke it here. And we see here on the weekly, strong bearish close. All right, so if I take this down to like the daily, you can clearly see the downtrend structure. All right, when it had this break, lower high, right? Pullback, lower high. This was also a pullback forming another lower high for a continuation down, giving us this lower low. All right, so now price, it's likely it could pull back, but on these pullbacks, right? On these pullbacks, you look for potential continuation to the downside. So overall, I'm still bearish. I believe this is still going to push bearish, going in line with that dollar strength that's likely to still come in the coming months. But we could possibly see some correction first. But I still like that setting up for another potential drop. GBPCHF, this was a really nice setup that we played, that we caught in the VIP, called this out. This was a beautiful play because we could look at this on the weekly real quick. All right, and we could see, right, when price formed this top at this level of supply, looking to the left, always look left to go right, right? It came to that same level of supply structure, broke down, pulled back right here. And notice it, when it pulled back, it was retesting this previous level of supply, strong supply structure that had a big sell-off. So it broke back below that, retested that as resistance, and continued down. Pulled back one more time, retested it again, and continued down. All right. So this is why price action and market structure is king. And you want to trade and react when price come around these structure levels, because price just repeats itself. But first, we need to see how it react once it come around these levels. All right. And we trade the price action, because after it kept rejecting, respecting these levels, we had a breakdown here, forming a lower low. All right. This is still like higher lows. Lower high structure here. We got this lower low. So when it broke this structure, it broke below this structure low to form that lower low. All right. So if I go down to the smaller time frame, I'm looking at my potential structure points that price can potentially respect and continue in trading in line with structure. So if we go down to the daily, all right, you can see this was the one that made the most sense. This is a previous structure level here. All right. Previous low, previous structure level before price broke below that. All right. So this was the retest point that I was looking at to say, you know what? This is a nice opportunity for continued shorts at this retest point. Also, this is railroads right here. This is a railroad, a bearish railroad pattern there on the daily. All right, a nice bearish indication on the retest. Okay, you can also take your fib from this swing high to that swing low. Actually, I like it better from the start of this impulse. It pushed back to about 61.8% at the top of that endpoint. The top of that impulse here, right? And we continued down. So we were able to catch that drop. Beautiful setup. All right, I'm still bearish on this. We caught it on that retest. Okay, you see price had a strong rejection, gave us the opportunity on this pullback, and we caught the continuation down. All right, but when I gave out the signal, this was actually it right here. Let's say you look at this, take a counter trend line. All right, from here, and you see how price broke down, and then it pulled back right here. On this pullback, all right, because this is your lower high, this is your lower high. On this pullback, you had a nice evening star rejection. We were entering there. We were entering here. But a stop loss above. My bias is already showing clear to the downside, and targets came all the way back down here. All right, so now judging based off the weekly, you can see we just got a bearish engulfing. All right, we got a bearish engulfing. So now I still like for this to push back into this level, back down towards 1.22. All right, I still like for that to hit. All right. So a way that we can get that is we'll probably see some pullback happen first. Bearish engulfing on the daily. So now on these pullbacks, on this correction, all right, I believe it will be just a correction to give us another wave down. All right, so you can look for more sales. Me personally, you know, if I would still look for the sell bias. All right. And with this, I would look at the previous levels that it possibly could come to, you know, somewhere like around here. Somewhere like around there. Right. That's a structure point I'll pay attention to. Right below where this lower high broke out. All right. That can be a potential retest level. All right. That's also about 61.8, about 70%, right, of that initial impulse. So that's GBPCHF. UJ is interesting. My bias is bearish this week, but we won't see how this play out. I normally don't trade Sunday, so we'll see how it looks going into Monday, maybe after the daily candle close. But looking at this on a weekly, it's a major supply zone right here where price had big sales pretty much every time. All right. Now here on the weekly, price closed with a big shooting star, right? Strong wick rejection on the weekly. Okay, that's showing signs that price is potentially slowing up, looking to reverse. We go to the daily. This is a strong evening star pattern right here on the daily. All right. For bearish, for that's showing bearish indication. So for me, my bias is still bearish. I believe it's going to set up for another drop. I believe that first, this correction, this pullback is happening now. The market is live now. I believe this is just a correction, a pullback to continue. All right. So on this pullback here, I'll look for continuation to the downside. All right. And judging off the weekly, I believe this could come back down towards this level of structure. This will be my target, my first target around here. Right. So anywhere between anywhere between 112 to 111.3 or so. Anywhere between that range. But that's still about another 200 pips or so. All right. So that's UJ bearish this week. EU. So if we look at EU, still extremely bearish. All right. Going in line with the strength of the dollar. Looking to the left, price broke back below this major level of structure, broke below it. So that's showing that we're still bearish. Price could pull back first before continuing. But right now, you see it's still very bearish. Okay, the daily just closed this bullish pump. Really, that's like a morning star right there. So it could be setting up for a bigger correction. But you can see clearly, right, we're getting these lower highs, right, lower highs, lower lows. Price continue with the lower low. Okay. If you look at the 4-hour, this is still a lower high, but this is NFP week. So I still believe we could get a deeper pullback, right? Even judging off the daily, judging off the weekly, I believe price will give us a deeper pullback, possibly to retest this structure again, and then give us another wave down. All right. Or it could just keep dropping from here. If it was to keep dropping from here, let's say here on the 4-hour, this is a lower high on the 4-hour, and price just continue to create a lower low, then I would say continue to look to sell those dips. All right. But overall, still bearish, but I believe we could possibly still get a bigger correction up. That's why I wouldn't look to trade this unless you're a scalper. I like to see how price develop going into the end of Monday after the daily candle close, and then, take it from there. So I like to trade. The biggest plays I take is trend continuation moves. So we'll see how that plays out. USD. You can see this is closing in, again, the daily candle is about to close this week, a couple days. It's looking like it's setting up for bearish engulfing, also going in line with the strong dollar. All right, so it's likely that price is heading back to this level of demand. All right, it's likely that's going to happen, but we still could get some type of pullback first. All right, you see we bearish on the weekly, bearish on the monthly, bearish all over, but we are back at this level of support. So price could pull back first, and I am leaning towards a pullback first to happen. But I am still bearish on this. So on this pullback, I'll be careful with having it long term. So somewhere in here, somewhere I will look for. Price could potentially just pull back, reject, right, and then just continue. Okay, but if price was to break up more than that, okay, then pull back and still show signs of holding support, then it could have a bigger move up. But I believe it all depends on the dollar. All right. Price action is showing that the dollar is still bullish. So we're going to see how things play out this week with NFP. But I'm leaning towards sales. But right here, I mean, you could catch some short-term buys on this. I believe AU is giving us that. This is a double bottom right here, actually. So it's probably going to give us a correction up, right, before any more sales. AJ, same thing as all the other odd pairs. I mean, not all pairs, JPY pairs. Strong strength in the odd. All right, strong strength in JPY, excuse me. So you see we are around this trend line, but after this strong impulse, now if we look at the weekly, still extremely bearish. All right, it's correcting this big bullish engulfing that happened on the monthly. Okay, so now we are at support. I gotta excuse that loud noise. People in my neighborhood going crazy. But we are at support. So I believe we could have some type of pullback first, something like this. All right. Some type of correction first, and then have a continuation down, possibly. CADJPY. This also was another one. CADJPY was another one that we caught, or that I was actually calling in the group. People took it, right? Price just formed a lower high and just gave us that extension down. It was a pretty easy setup. You see, we completely continue to get lower highs, looking to the left. All right. And you see here, we got the trend line rejection, strong bearish. Here on the 4-hour, we got that evening star rejection. All right. You see something like that, and it's at a lower high. Everything is lining up. You take your shorts. All right. And price just continued with that nice pressure to the downside. So I'm still bearish on this. But it's looking like price wants to give us some type of correction. All right. Give us some type of correction before we get that pullback. Because looking to the left, we reached this level of structure. We reached the level of structure where price, you expect price to react from. All right. So now that's what it's doing. It's already looking like it's correcting. Strong bearish candle on the daily, but it looks like it's correcting that. Then after that, we possibly could get another wave down because price is still bearish. All right, so I'm gonna leave you with that. I hope that helps. Again, if you're in the VIP, I will keep you all up to date. If you're not, you might want to check us out. Our yearly price that's normally $349, you can get it for $174.50. It's going through Cyber Monday. Tap it with us. You'll get access to the private Discord. If you want to follow our trades with stop loss and take profits, that will give you access with that, as well as the training, as well as all the help from me, Lewis, and the team. All right. So I'll see you all in the next session. And let's catch some pips this week. It's looking good.